as promised, is all about protein. Hey, to all my hair lovers out there, this is Q with Q Loves Hair, and I know it has been a very long time since I actually posted a video, but I've been sick, working super hard, doing hair shows in the salon, and honestly, I'm really glad to get back and actually post a video. Alright, healthy hair don't care, all about protein. The biggest question that I get is, do I need protein? And I would say to that, it depends. It has a lot to do with the current state of your hair. How healthy is your hair already? If your hair is not healthy, there's a great chance that you do need protein. So I am going to go step by step, okay? Your hair is 90% or more protein. So that means if you lose any protein, you are losing a very integral part of your hair. That spells trouble. Okay, you keep protein in your hair by not doing things to damage your hair and cause protein loss. The biggest destroyer of protein is going to be loss of moisture. So that's why moisture is so important. So that can come from external heat, really high heat. If you curl your hair every other day, or if you use flat irons pretty frequently, what will begin to happen is, especially on the ends of the hair, you will experience protein loss. That is how you get split ends. So if you're always getting split ends, it's safe to say you're always losing protein. Now, does that necessarily mean your whole head needs protein? Maybe not, but definitely your ends. And there's so many products on the market that you can use to make sure that at least your ends stay nice and full of protein that will keep your split ends from splitting. And that will bring you length retention. Because if you don't have to cut them all the time, your hair can actually grow and you'll get some length. Environmental factors, really harsh sun, really harsh heat, swimming, and chemicals. Listen, cuticle damage, that can come from thermal heat, thermal damage, but any damage to the cuticle, that's your protective layer. Remember, we talked about that last time. If you damage your cuticle, you are definitely going to experience protein loss because you don't have that protective layer. And so when you apply a protein treatment, it's going to fill in those little holes and fill in those little spaces that cause the protein to slip out of the hair. Now, if your hair is as long as mine, this part of your hair is going to be the part that gives you all the trouble. Your ends, the last 3 to 4 inches of your hair, they're the oldest, they've been around the longest, they've been through the most damage, the most trying times. You know how you do your hair. So this is the part of the hair that's really going to need love, care, and affection. And you know what? When your hair is wet, this is very important because your hair is at its weakest state when it's wet. You can do what's called a little protein test, and all you have to do is take your hair and you want to stretch it, okay? If your hair goes back, that's a great thing. That means your hair is full of elasticity and it's fairly healthy. If your hair snaps or does not return, then protein is a great place to start. That means the hair has been compromised, something's happened at some point in time, and you do need to treat it, okay? And here's a big thing to know about protein. Protein is not for everybody. There are people that are actually quote unquote protein sensitive, and if they get a protein treatment, their hair does the opposite. Their hair becomes brittle, their hair breaks off, their hair gets really frizzy and fuzzy. Those are protein sensitive individuals. And you know if you are protein sensitive. If you've ever done a protein treatment and your hair felt worse than before you ever actually did the treatment, there's a great chance you're protein sensitive. And in that case, I would make sure your moisture levels stay really high and really balanced in the hair so you won't even have to go through that. What protein should I use? Great question. Now listen, protein is in a lot of things. Living things, animals, plants, any organisms, food. So you really have a lot of options out there, and companies have made sure that you have, so much to choose from. So how do you know what is right? I'm going to give you a little warning. You really want to stay away from your animal proteins. They smell awful. They stink. I mean, you spray it out of the bottle, you pour it out of the bottle, and you are holding your nose. And who wants to deal with stinky products? And it's a lot stronger, it's a lot harsher, and it can build up on the hair. So animal protein is really not your friend, but there are companies that will use it because it is cheaper and more readily available. But that is one I would definitely stay away from. I can tell you what I really like to use behind the chair. And then honestly, I like to use products that have mixed some of the good ones together. Collagen is a great protein, and it really helps to build the elasticity in the hair. If your hair is really fine, limp, drab, and looks awful, then collagen protein is a good suggestion because it's going to actually help bring elasticity back into the hair. Think about what we use in the beauty industry. What do we use collagen for? You know, to plump things up and to make things look, you know, thicker and bigger and pretty. And so it's gonna do the same thing for your hair. Something you really wanna be aware also with collagen proteins, especially when it's used by itself, it can sometimes leave a gummy type residue on the hair. You can rinse that out, but it takes some really good rinsing to make sure that's completely out of the hair. I like collagen protein mixed with other proteins, okay? Okay, now I'm gonna tell you what my absolute favorite proteins are. And I have two. I love wheat proteins and I love silk proteins. Let me start with wheat proteins. Wheat proteins are gonna usually be seen with other vegetable proteins. And I like that they usually come in liquid form, and that when you use it, you would spray it on the hair and let it get absorbed into the hair, okay? I do like the results of a wheat vegetable protein mix. I find that the hair is much stronger, much healthier. And if you've ever felt hair that's really slimy and slippery, if you use a vegetable wheat protein product on it, the hair is gonna really feel like it has some grit after the service. And feels like that the hair has some strength again. So I have found great success with your vegetable and wheat protein. Silk protein is probably my #1 protein, and I'm gonna tell you why. Natural silk actually has 17 of the 19 amino acids that are naturally found in the hair. Your hair has 19 amino acids. When you find a product that actually has 17 of those exact amino acids that your hair has, you're talking about a match made in heaven. So silk also will hold a lot of moisture. You have your moisture that you're going to need, we'll talk about that next week, and then you have your protein. So it's really the best of both worlds, which is why it is really my favorite, absolute favorite protein that I like to put into the hair. Okay, now we're going to talk about protein strengths, and this is super important. Please understand, all proteins are not created equally. They vary in strength greatly. And just a little guide or a way you can gauge it is usually the creamier the product, usually the less protein in the product. Because when you start dealing with creams, you start dealing with, you need different things like glycerin and different emollients and things like that to keep it creamy and to keep it, you know, to keep it nice, to keep the consistency of cream. So you're not gonna necessarily always have a really high protein level. Now there are some cream proteins that are very potent, but they're usually professional brands and really hard for the consumer to purchase. So I'm not really worried about that. Liquid proteins are usually really strong. And the way you can tell is the liquid proteins that require you to sit under a dryer and to dry into the hair. And then once it dries into the hair feels like a solid rock. Those are very strong proteins. So you really want to be careful. The stronger the protein, the less often you want to put it on the hair. Because here's the thing, what does protein do? It strengthens the hair. So if you overuse protein, you will find that the hair is dry, brittle, and actually can lead to breakage. I have seen instances where individuals were giving themselves protein treatments once a week and all their doggone hair broke off because it's too much. And sometimes you need to make sure you give proper breaks. I would not say that protein should just be a natural part of a hair regimen unless your hair is constantly losing protein. If you're always getting split ends and there are some textures that are like that, then that may be what's necessary for a protein regimen. But the protein that I am talking about is the kind that you need when life has really let you down in your hair, okay? In the hair department. So how often should I use protein? You know, let your hair tell you how often you should use protein. If your hair starts looking limp and looking lifeless, then it's time. But let your hair tell you. Don't just use it to be using it. Use it when it's necessary. Okay? Please remember that strong proteins are not for daily use or weekly use. Only in very, very extreme events should you be using protein on a regular basis. And at that point, if your hair is that severely damaged, I would highly recommend you seeking a professional, not trying to combat that yourself, because there's a great chance you can do way more damage than you want to if you decide to go at it yourself. So always keep that in mind, okay? So has protein ever saved your life? If it has, leave it in the comments because I want to know. I want to hear your stories. We'll see you next time where we talk about healthy hair don't care, all things moisture, so you don't want to miss it. Thank you so much for watching my video. This is Q with QLovesHair telling you once again to take care of what you love. Until next time.